I'm here this morning with a guest to have a conversation about open primaries and elections and government in Oklahoma. And my name is Margaret Kobos. I'm the CEO and founder of Oklahoma United. Oklahoma United is a nonpartisan nonprofit. We work on a variety of initiatives aimed at improving our democratic system and government and civic engagement here in Oklahoma. We support voter registration, civic literacy, and overall engagement. And what we're trying to do is improve the spectrum and the diversity and the voices and the access of all of Oklahoma in elections. And one of our major projects, in fact, our our priority project is State Question 836, which proposes a constitutional amendment to end closed partisan primaries that have, in our opinion, led to Oklahoma having the worst voter turnout in the country and a government that feels disconnected from the people. So we are proposing in State Question 836 that we would start, instead of having closed partisan primaries, we would have a single ballot. All candidates would be listed on that ballot with their party registration, and the top two vote getters would go on to the general election in November. Every voter would be able to vote in every election, and every voter would matter to all of the elected officials who would then be accountable to all of their electorate. It would extend to all statewide races that are currently partisan. And in addition to that, it would affect U.S. Congress and U.S. Senator seats from the state of Oklahoma. So with that little introduction, what we're trying to do right now, this is our first conversation of this type, and we're trying to produce some insights from people who know what they're doing, like my guest today, who is former House Speaker Kris Steele. And Kris, I've met you a couple of times, and I really enjoy your expertise and your perspective. And that's what I want to do today, is try to, learn more about you and give you a chance to speak about what you feel is going on in Oklahoma these days, and what makes you excited about the idea of reform and change and the future that we want to hand to our kids and grandkids. So welcome, Kris. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and honored to have this conversation.
Well, thank you. So for background, I'd like to just make everyone aware of your experience level. You were a state representative from 2000 to 2012. And of course, you were Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives. You happen to be registered Republican, as am I. And you, when in office, you were leading the charge on reforms in the areas of healthcare, human services, and criminal justice. And today, you are the executive director of the Education and Employment Ministry, which is a nonprofit dedicated to breaking the cycle of poverty and incarceration in Oklahoma. And you are the advisor for the Oklahomans for Criminal Justice Reform Coalition, which is comprised of community groups, business leaders, health professionals, and faith leaders dedicated to advancing effective approaches to public safety and increasing access to treatment and programs for the root causes of crime. And Kris, on top of that, you have joined us in a panel somewhat recently in Shawnee about State Question 836. And we just couldn't be happier to have your support for open primaries. So I'd like to jump in with some questions and just hear about what it is that interests you and what you think about the hope of this reform. So why don't you please talk a little bit about running for office and campaigning for office and what a closed primary system does in that entire endeavor. So how does it work, and what was your experience?
You bet. And Margaret, let me just say again, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this conversation and in this initiative. I think I can't imagine when I've felt more hopeful about the opportunity for our state to make better decisions, to focus on things that really matter, to include everyone's perspective, and to ultimately improve our standard of living and our quality of life through this initiative process through open primaries. I'll just jump right in and tell you that when a person runs for office, and in my own experience, they want to make sure that they are using the best use of time and resources. And so generally what happens is a person, myself, for example, who runs as a Republican, we're going to be looking at data within our district of voters to determine who within our own party are the most likely voters in an election. So we're looking for Republicans, in my case, who we know vote 4 out of 5 times or 5 out of 5 times. And that's really where we focus. And we focus on those because we know that those individuals are going to be the ones who vote in the primary. And the result is there's not a lot of attention given to other perspectives. I can tell you, I remember exactly even leading um, campaign teams when we were door knocking to say, hey, don't knock on that person's door because they're not a registered Republican, or don't knock on that person's door because even though they are a registered Republican, they don't vote. They're not very likely to vote. And so there are a lot of perspectives that get left out. And the end result is that we're listening primarily and only to those voices that tend to be more extreme in their thought processes. And in the platforms that are created in the primary election tend to cater to those voices that tend to be more extreme, and it's just not a balanced or a complete um, uh, understanding of what really is important ultimately to the community, to the district. We're listening to a fraction of the community. I think those voices are very important, and I appreciate them, but I also think that other voices are equally important. And if we're going to have decisions that benefit all of us, truly benefit the greater good, we're going to have to get to a point where we have a process and a system that allows every single voter to count, every single voter's perspective to matter, and for those running for office to have an incentive to seek out the perspective of everyone who they represent.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of research on this, and that's what really got me started on this quest. And that is when you look at who is elected uh, and the lack of representation from literally half of Oklahoma's registered voters. I mean, I happen to be one of those Republican habitual voters. But when I realized that only about 51% of us are registered Republican, I started obviously thinking, well, asking the question, where is everybody else?
I understand. I consider myself to be conservative, but an open primary allows us to apply conservative principles to practical solutions. I mean, there are things that we need to address in our state, and the problem with a closed primary is that we're really not focusing on solutions as much as we are about party politics and trying to say the right rhetoric that can ultimately set us back. I mean, some of the things that some of the positions that are being that people take, and some of the ideas that are being focused on, quite honestly, are not in our state's best interest is really a waste of time. And we've got some things that really need to be addressed. And so I think open primaries really create the forum for us to be focused on solutions and apply our principles to things that really matter and not be inactive.
If we can have an open primary, it's not the only solution, I think. We still have to get people to run for office and we still have to get people to vote. But this is a layup, giving everybody the right to show up and vote and feel like they matter has to be, in my mind, kind of where we start. So I wanted to ask you, you've been involved in the Oklahoma Academy in the past, is that right?
That's correct. Yes, I'm very involved with
Yeah.
the
And
academy.
so the Oklahoma Academy has been looking at this open primary idea for a long time. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. Yeah, it's a topic that has been an area of interest, really, and you've already connected the dots. But along with increased voter engagement, and along with civil discourse, and so ultimately, the Oklahoma Academy has taken a position to endorse open primaries because the academy believes that it will lead to better decision making, better outcomes, and more engagement from every Oklahoman. And the basic premise is this: our form of government works best when people are engaged, when people are involved, when people participate. That's what our form of government is intended to promote, and that's how we get the best results. And so the academy, and I've had the opportunity to be with our chairman, Mr. Daryl Schmidt, and of course our director, Julie Knudsen, in several settings to talk about the value of open primaries, in various settings throughout Oklahoma, and the level of enthusiasm and the level of interest and excitement about the possibility that tomorrow will be better with this structure in place is just nothing short of inspiring. I am so thankful that this conversation is occurring. I'm thankful that this initiative is happening, and I think it does create the foundation for us to improve and do better.
You live in Shawnee. What do you think the people of Shawnee want to see and hear?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I would agree. I think that what we crave is an opportunity to gather together and really think through issues that matter, issues that are important to our community, to be able to be in a setting where we can express our opinion, but also hear one another, hear from one another, understand what is important to each other, and then collectively determine what may be the best course of action. Our community, and I'm partial to our community. It's where I live and have raised my wife and I have raised our family. But I suspect that we're just like every other Oklahoma community in the sense that we really want to be able to work together, like legitimately work together to solve problems and to help um, everyone in our community reach their individual potential, and we want to collectively reach our community potential. And so having conversations that allow us to consider all perspectives and really work together to move forward is definitely a priority and a desire within the community of Shawnee.
I was told early on in this, kind of a metaphor for this in business, and that is when you go to work, let's say at the bank or wherever it is you work, and there's a problem and it comes up during your day, you get your people in the room and you solve the problem.
That's right.
In no way would ever anyone at the beginning of that conversation line people up on different sides and say, okay, you're a Republican, right? Okay, you're over there, and then you're over here. You would never do that. you would get everybody at the table. The conversation is focused on the problem and who has the best idea. And so that's where I think we have created, we've allowed a system to create a dysfunction that is preventing us from solving our real problems. So I do want to see that dynamic changed. And I have been also reflecting this week on, we talk a lot about Oklahoma values, and I have to question in our politics right now why we might think that the system today is serving those values. Because to me, our values they really start with doing the right thing, and they include grit, determination,
Sure.
and ultimately the ability to take a leap of faith. And so I think our state question and open primaries, it really sings to all of those values, which I think are our real values.
Sure.
And if we can stay true to all of that, there's no stopping us.
Yeah, I mean, Margaret, what you're saying is exactly true. When we work together, the sky's the limit. I mean, there is no barriers to our capability. But when we're not able to work together, when we remain divided and fragmented, and only a certain number of people's voice counts, or perspectives are taken into consideration, then we're limited. But open primaries gives us the opportunity to shake free of all those barriers, focus on what's important, allow every single perspective to be included. And I just am convinced that it's going to lead to a better tomorrow.